This weekend, I saw Tom Segura in Green Bay at the Widener Center. I'd never seen a show at the Widener Center before that, so that was a first. I gotta say, it was a very beautiful theater and a great setup, good staff, and I really appreciated that the security did not put up with any BS at that show. I just gotta say that because there was a guy behind me, and you will know if any of you were at that show, was heckling the opening act, and it was kind of really annoying because initially when this man sat down, literally the row behind me, uh, I figured he was pretty, tuned up, as they say, and that he had, a few drinks. And as he, said to his friends, he's like, I drank a whole fifth. And he also said, I don't really give a shit about the show. So it makes me wonder, it's like, why do you even go? You know? And it's just like, yeah, I paid money for this. And even his friends, at least they had the common courtesy to be like, hey, you got to chill out, man. You're going to get us, kicked out of here. He's like, well, I know you guys care about the show, but I don't. But it's just like, wouldn't it be funnier if I got kicked out? Wouldn't that be a great story? It's like, yeah, maybe in a way, but it's like you're kind of ruining it for everybody else around you because, as soon as he sat down, everybody else was like, oh, shit. Because I don't know what it is about, concerts or seeing stand up, you know, concerts or seeing comedians. Is like there's always just somebody that has way too much to drink at one of these shows, and they just either are being, very annoying, and it's irritating for everybody else around them, or they literally just have so much to where they're either like, getting sick or they pass out or something, and they have to be like literally like, gurneyed out of there because I've seen it before. It's crazy. It just surprises me each time I see it because it is almost every show that I go to, something like that happens. And, I don't know. It's hard because I don't mean to be a hypocrite, and I understand, like, where I come from with this is that, there's a fine line to me, and this is just personal preference, is, like, of enjoying yourself and maybe having, a drink or 2, but, like, getting absolutely obliterated and, kinda making the show for others around you not as fun. It sucks a lot of the life out of it, to be honest, and also, too, it's, like, my biggest thing of why I don't, do that kind of stuff is, 1, I paid good money to be there, and 2, I traveled, you fairly, long distances for these shows, and I've been waiting for it for so long, and 3, I wanna remember everything. I like being there in the moment to remember it. It's like, sure, I take, pictures and little video clips like, most other people do to have as kind of mementos, but it's like I can recall, like, everything that happened and along with, like, who was around me and stuff and what things happened to them, or it's like, oh, this person, passed out, or, this person was having some sort of, issue and stuff. And, sometimes medical issues happen and, I'm not getting on anyone for those type of things. But what is totally avoidable is kind of coming in there and being a moron and then kind of being a nuisance to everyone around you. That still really annoys me, and I can't get over that. It's just, like I said, it's been almost every show that I went to. There's always something. I mean, it does make it interesting in that aspect that it, kinda can be a wild card, and, you never know who is going to be around you, what type of people, because there's some shows I've met a lot of really cool people and had great conversations with them because, most shows, probably about 90% of them I go to myself. But to me, that's fine because, like, a lot of friends or other family members don't have time in their, schedule, they aren't available to do that, or, they'd rather not spend the money, it's not worth it to them. But to me, I've always thought, like, if it's somebody I wanna see, I'm pretty much gonna pay whatever it is. Because my thought is, you make money to spend money, maybe not to be ridiculous and to go to, every single thing, and, sometimes seeing artists a second time is not quite the same, but, I don't know. I just think if you wanna do something, you should go and do it, and that's my thought with, going to these shows so much. It's been such a part of my life, and it's funny because I think of myself as more of an introvert, but at the same point, I really do love being amongst a crowd of people, and I still have thoughts myself of being a performer, being, comedian, or like getting a band together, or even if this, podcast ever takes off, of doing some sort of live podcast, tours or just special shows here and there. I think that would be a lot of fun, or doing, Q&As if I, ever get a fan club of, a following. It would be cool to interact with people that way. We'll see. That's for longer down the line. That's more of a pipe dream, I'd say. But, I don't know. There's just always something with that, somebody always just has to be that way at concerts. But I will say it did work out was that, security did get on him, and he was kinda getting frustrated with that because this guy that was being disruptive was so loud above everybody else. He was even louder than the opening comedian, Kirk Fox with, the microphone. And, it's funny because you see seasoned comedians like him, and they just know how to roll with the punches. Like, somebody's being an idiot, you just kinda gotta roll with it. And, there were just, like, several different times where he's like, "Yep, I knew it was gonna be him again," to have kind of like an outburst and stuff. And it was interesting for the Widener Center that, they have the no heckling policy, which I actually do like that. It does make it different because, like, I'm sure for years in a lot of different places, that they have to put up with that crap. I mean, I'm on the outside looking in. I'm not a professional comedian, so I don't know, but I feel like that would be nice because then the comedians can kind of focus on their performance more, not have to, deal with any extra things like that so much. So I liked that. And anyway, back to the guy was anyway, the security had got on him for being, disruptive because he was kind of like having conversations out loud, like with his friend next to him, or like almost trying to have conversations going with, the opening comedian. And, because he'd say something funny and he'd be laughing just louder than anybody else. And he'd be like, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And like keep going with it. It's just like, it's fine to laugh, but it's just like there is a limit of like you can hear it over everyone else in the whole, theater. So it's just like that was a lot. But then there was another time that, security got on him for being on his phone because for comedy shows, it's, phone free for pretty much, all of them, unless they ask you to take it out for some reason, because that has happened at, Bert Kreischer shows or when I saw Adam Sandler, but that's, just kind of here or there. And it's different when they're asking for it, the performer. But, 9 times out of 10, you got to have that put away. Or sometimes they do have, yonder bags that lock up automatically, but I do understand, not having phones out for comedians because that, those jokes and that material's their livelihood, so I understand wanting to protect that. So, it makes sense, and anyway, the guy just got very frustrated because he's like, "You mean I can't laugh? I can't do this?" So anyway, he just ended up getting kinda, pissed off and left, so I was like, "Thank God," because it's like, I'm not confrontational, all these things that I say to you guys are just thoughts I have in my head because I'm like, I don't like to rock the boat. That's just who I am. But, if he would have been that way during Tom, I really just wanted to say, "Hey, could you not?" Because, other people are trying to enjoy. Because even when that guy initially walked in, he's like, "Anybody got a cigarette?" "Cigarette!" And was, like, yelling it, and it's like, "Oh my god." And then even, like, he asked me or he asked, like, a group of guys, like, a row in front of me and stuff, and it's like, "We don't smoke," and it's like, "You can't smoke in here anyway." It's like, "We're inside a theater." And the guy's like, "Yeah, but," it's just like it was just something. There's just always, an absolute unit of a person like that kinda does that type of stuff. But anyway, I thought Kirk Fox was okay, from what I could tell of his set. It was hard to really hear a lot of it because when I have, pretty good in that, but that's kind of the main thing I knew him from. I didn't realize he was in, Parks and Rec and a bunch of other things. I didn't know that, till I saw the till I, saw him performing that time, so thought he was okay. I didn't know that he was older than Tom by, like, I think maybe 9 or 10 years or something like that? It's just, I guess, so deceiving because, like, Bert's older than Tom, but Tom is just, gray and looks older than everybody else, so looks are kinda deceiving, I guess, sometimes. Uh what was I gonna say? Overall, my thoughts for, Tom's set, I thought they were pretty good. I think I like his, Sledgehammer hour a little bit more. I saw that on the, I'm Coming Everywhere tour. That was at the Resch Center. But I think after that whole ordeal and the fact that, I, didn't have to drive straight back after the show that night, I didn't have to worry about, hitting deer or something happening at night. So I think I felt a lot more comfortable, and I think I just allowed myself to laugh a lot more and really enjoy. I had a really great time with his set, and I enjoyed it a lot. I think each hour he does just gets better and better. I wasn't as big of a fan of, like, Bert's last hour that he did. Lucky, I mean, I'll have to rewatch it, but Tom just seems like he gets better and better. Because I actually, just, rewatched, Sledgehammer the other day of Tom's, and I just thought it was great. And it's cool, to see kind of everything packaged up and shined a little bit from, when you saw that specific tour and that hour of material than to see how it's presented in a Netflix special, like what little tweaks he would do, or not. I think this was really the best time to see him was right before he taped because he was taping in Milwaukee like the next few nights and he still has some other dates on tour going on, but I just thought like regardless, I would have seen him even if it was the very beginning of this tour, but it was also great because it's going to be at the tightest it is, and as sharp. Maybe there could still be little tweaks to it, but probably not very much. Like it's going to be probably as good as it's going to get. The thing that I was just shocked about is they when he and Netflix, posted yesterday that his new special teacher, which he literally just recorded last weekend in Milwaukee, will be dropping on Christmas Eve on Netflix. I was pleasantly surprised because it's like Sledgehammer, he sat on that for so long. It was like months and months. I think he recorded it maybe in like September of 2022, either August or September. I think it was September. And then it didn't come out till like around the 4th of July of 2023, if not the 4th of July. And I don't know, I was just shocked because I was thinking when I saw him last weekend, I was like, oh, well, probably won't see this till either next summer or maybe like, springtime or something at the earliest. But I was like, wow. So maybe with that quick turnaround time that it was just so, that the sets were so good that there's not really a lot of edits that have to be made. I was just surprised because normally they take a long time with that. But good for Tom, and I'm glad to get another hour out there for him. Always glad to see him. I just it was interesting too after the show in the lobby. I was getting some merch, and I overheard like a couple people being like kind of saying like wasn't what they thought it was gonna be, But it's like comedians are totally different in the podcast compared to what their stand-up is because some are better at stand-up and some are better at podcasts and some can do both. Tom could do both very well in my opinion, but it's different seeing them really in their element like that. And they were like, yeah, and the monotone delivery and stuff, and I was thinking, I was like, did you watch any of his other specials? It just makes me wonder because they're all like that. Nothing has changed. Like, in his earlier specials, he pushes the boundaries a lot more and he's become, a bit tamer here and there. And now I feel like he just kind of toes the line with kind of what he says more so. It's not as, uh edgy and getting you to kind of feel uncomfortable. But I still had a great time with him. I'm really not going to try to get into specific jokes at this time. I'll probably do that more maybe once the special comes out and kind of do a review of it. And I can kind of talk about this joke or this joke because I remember some things off the top of my head, but I also could possibly misremember them because, there's no way for me to document that besides my own memories, really. So that could be a thing I might do for another time. And as it sits so far, I'd probably say like Sledgehammer is my favorite so far, and I thought Ball Hog was good, and Mostly Stories was good. I pretty much enjoyed everything he's done. Honestly, for me, it kind of goes in like it kind of gets worse like the quality of his specials as you go back because I'd say like Sledgehammer's the best, and I would say Ball Hog was an improvement from before that. And then you got Disgraceful, Mostly Stories, and then Completely Normal. And then also, too, he did do a couple of stand-up albums. He did White Girls with Cornrows and Thrilled. I did listen to those like once, and I thought they were kind of okay. But I don't know. I just feel like he is, aged like a fine wine, and he gets better and better with each tour that he does. So I hope he keeps going because I know him and Bert will say, yeah, you're not going to tour after this. And, I know they're kind of saying it more jokingly, but it really did make me think too, like, what if he really does lean more into just doing, movie and TV projects? Because I know Bad Thoughts Season 2 is, going to be coming out at some point. And I don't know. I'm just glad to be able to have the opportunity to see him. Maybe, I might re-rank those specials once Teacher comes out. I don't know if I said that before, but when Teacher drops on Christmas Eve, December 24th this year, uh, and see where they kind of stand, and also too, I'm wondering how I would feel seeing those jokes again. But if you ever get the chance to see Tom Segura, I definitely recommend it. He is a very funny man, and you will not regret paying for his live performance. So, like I said, this time I definitely had a better seat because I was about 15 rows back. And my hotel was probably only about 15 minutes away. So it's kind of nice. Just a lot, relaxed and things, and getting there was just, I thought parking was gonna be kinda more of a nightmare because, like, 1, I had never been there before, and 2, like, they were doing some construction, so some lots were closed, and it took a while to get out of there, but that's kind of to be expected, but it's like, well, there's no rush, at least, I got to the show fine and everything. Because I was probably at my seat for, like, 40 minutes, but leaving out of there, you know, after the show probably took, like, a half hour or more, and I saw a couple cars, parked in the grass, and I was like, "What?" And I was like, I don't know if they were just running that late to where they're just like, "We just gotta get in there, just leave it here and run," you know? Um, so maybe that's what their thought was with that. I really don't know, but I was like, "Well, they made it," so I was like, most times for me, I'm kind of in more of a mad dash to where, like, a lot of times I'll get there and I'll be like, "Well, if I get there, like, half hour before the doors open," or be like, "If I get there a half hour before the show starts," because it's like, I don't wanna sit there forever in my seat, and I was getting a little uncomfortable after a point just because, like, it's hard when you drive, like, several hours and then you go and sit again. That's why I prefer, like, concerts to where, like, I'm in the pit or if it's standing room only because it's kinda nice to even out of from sitting to standing for a while before I have to, go and sit again while I either, drive home or drive back to my hotel. Because it's just I don't know, it's just a killer just to sit for so long, but it wasn't as bad this time because, at the arena show before at the Resh, those are just folding chairs, so it's like, more uncomfortable, and then, like, you're closer to people to where, in a theater, you actually have, nicer, obviously, theater, seats. And you're not as close to people and stuff, and, it was just nice not to be in a rush to get there and just, chilling, hanging out, and, yeah, I don't know, and then after the show, I might post a thing, but sometime I snagged another shirt and a poster. That is part of my problem too that I have not shared yet on here is I have a million T-shirts, and it's kind of a problem because that's, like, most of my wardrobe, but at the same point, I love it, though. I can never get enough of them. I really gotta sell some of them sometime. But that's kinda like my big addiction is just posters and T-shirts, and as you can see behind me, I got a lot of posters, and that's kind of only scratching the surface, and sometime ever, if people wanted, I could show what else I have because I think it's a lot of fun, and when you have a unique poster that stands out to you and you really wanna put on your wall, I say, "Go and get it." So I do. Um, but no, it's really cool, and it was kind of interesting for his poster because it's a foil print, and I've never got one of those before, but, it's different because, like, his face is kinda broken up more, and then it's kind of almost like a puzzle, but I was like, "Oh, it kinda makes sense because like, the tour being called, Come Together, and, so it's kinda fitting for that, and then it's cool because, like, where I put it, like, the light kinda hits it just right, and it has kinda, like, rainbow on the edges of it, so I thought that was pretty neat, and then the shirt, is pretty much, like, the same thing. Obviously, it's not reflective like that, but it's, like, in kinda, like, puzzle pieces, sort of, is the best way I would describe it. I thought that was kinda cool because I did not see that on the YMH, website, but, I think it's neat when you have, specific merch like that at your tour stop, so it kinda makes people, like, want like, another incentive to be, like, to actually go to the show in person to get that stuff, and I like when people do that, and I think they should because I think if you're a fan of somebody, I feel like, if you are in a position to be able to go, I think you should, and that's why I kinda, go to as many shows as I can right now because I have the freedom to be able to and the flexibility of my schedule to be able to do that stuff. I realize I will not always, so I just enjoy it while it lasts, and that's what I say to others. I think, if, there's something you really wanna do or somebody you really wanna see, I say go for it because life is short. You make money to spend money, and vice versa, but it's made to be put towards things you want to do, what you enjoy, and this is what I enjoy, uh, what else was I gonna say? Yeah, that's kinda it pretty much. But, let me know what your thoughts are on Tom Segura and his stand-up, or if you've seen any of, podcasts he's been on. Would you be interested in seeing him ever? And, is there anyone that, you saw this year that you really enjoyed for comedians or bands or, whatnot? And, is there anybody you have tickets for next year? Let me know in the comments, and, I'll be doing some, other episodes of kinda doing some reviews of who I saw this year for concerts and, things like that moving forward. But if you enjoyed this, I say thank you and, hope to see you in the next episode.